Lady Jane Grey, 16, maybe 17 years old, will kneel. Jane Grey was born into privilege, but privilege in Tudor England was never simple. It came with rules, pressure, and danger. She was intelligent, deeply educated, and unusually serious for her age. She read Latin and Greek. She studied religion with the discipline of someone much older. In another life, Jane might have been remembered as a scholar, a thinker, a noblewoman of quiet brilliance. But she was born close to the throne. And in Tudor England, being close to the throne was not a blessing. It was a mark painted on your back. Jane was the great-granddaughter of Henry VII. Her blood carried royal possibility, not enough to make her safe, but enough to make her useful. And that usefulness would become her tragedy. By 1553, England was trembling. King Edward VI was dying. He was young, Protestant, and determined that England should not return to Catholic rule. But by traditional succession, his half-sister Mary Tudor stood next in line, a Catholic woman with her own loyal supporters, her own claim, and her own history of humiliation under the Tudor court. If Mary became queen, the religious direction of England could change overnight. For some powerful men, that was unacceptable. One of those men was John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland, ambitious, calculating, and close to the centre of power. He understood the danger of Mary's succession. He also understood opportunity. Jane Grey had royal blood. Jane Grey was Protestant. Jane Grey was young. And, perhaps most importantly, Jane Grey could be controlled. So Northumberland moved pieces across the board, like a man playing for the future of England and for his own survival. Jane was married to his son, Guildford Dudley. It was not simply a marriage, it was a political lock. Her name, her body, her inheritance, her faith, all of it was tied to Dudley ambition. Imagine the room. A teenage girl surrounded by adults speaking in the language of duty, religion, family, obedience. Every smile has a calculation behind it. Every blessing feels like a command. Jane was not being prepared for a life. She was being prepared for a role. Then Edward VI died, and before the country could breathe, before Mary could gather her strength, the plan was revealed. Jane Grey was to be queen. When they told her, the crown did not arrive like glory. It arrived like a sentence. She reportedly resisted. She was shocked, overwhelmed, perhaps terrified. This was not a girl running toward power with open hands. This was a girl being pushed toward a throne, surrounded by knives. But the machinery had already begun. Jane was taken to the Tower of London, not as a prisoner, as queen. That is the strange horror of her story. The same walls that would later hold her captive first received her as a monarch. The Tower was palace and prison, celebration and tomb. For a few brief days, Jane was the centre of England. Documents were issued in her name. Men bowed, councillors attended. The crown hovered above her like a storm cloud. But outside London, reality was changing. Mary Tudor did not disappear. She acted. She rode, gathered support, and called the country to recognise her rightful claim. People who had hesitated began to choose. Nobles shifted. Councillors panicked. The widespread support Northumberland had hoped for never fully appeared. The plan had looked powerful inside closed rooms. But England was not a closed room. Mary's name carried weight. She was Henry VIII's daughter. To many, blood mattered more than elite strategy. Legitimacy mattered more than paperwork. Jane's reign began to crack almost as soon as it began. 9 days. That is all history would give her. 9 days to be called queen. 9 days to become dangerous. 9 days before, the same men who placed her on the throne stepped back, changed sides, and tried to save themselves. Mary entered London in triumph. Jane was no longer queen. She was a prisoner. Now the tower changed around her. The stone felt different. The doors closed with a new meaning. The guards no longer protected her authority. They protected the state from her existence. At first, Mary may have seen Jane for what she was: a manipulated girl, not the mastermind of rebellion. There was a chance she might live. A small chance. A fragile chance. But politics has a way of destroying mercy. In early 1554, rebellion rose against Mary's plan to marry Philip of Spain. Wyatt's rebellion shook the throne, and suddenly Jane was no longer merely a defeated claimant. She was a symbol, and symbols are dangerous. As long as Jane lived, others could use her name again. Others could raise banners, whisper promises, and turn this quiet teenage prisoner into a Protestant alternative to Mary. Jane had not chosen the game, but the game was not finished with her. The sentence was death. On the morning of the 12th of February 1554, Guildford Dudley was taken first. He was young too, also trapped, also shaped by family ambition. His death was part of the same cruel design. Jane may have seen his body brought back past her lodging. Think of that moment, not as legend, not as politics, as a young girl looking out and seeing the cost of everything adults had arranged around her. Then it was her turn. Jane stepped out in black. There was no army now, no council, no crown, no royal chamber, only the scaffold, only the watching faces, only the final ritual of power, correcting itself through blood. She spoke with composure. She prayed. She held to her Protestant faith. But courage does not mean fear is absent. Courage means fear is present, and the person keeps moving. Then came the blindfold. Darkness covered her eyes. She knelt, and suddenly she could not find the block. Her hands moved in the empty air. For one terrible moment, the image of the martyr disappears, and we see the child, confused, blind, alone, asking what she should do. Someone guided her. She laid her head down, and the crown that had been forced upon her was finally taken away forever. Her story leaves 3 leadership lessons. The first, leadership without consent is not leadership at all. The second, ambition becomes dangerous when human beings are treated as political tools. And the final lesson, moral courage can survive even after power is taken away. Lady Jane Grey ruled for only 9 days, but her final walk has lasted for centuries. Because sometimes history does not remember the person who held power the longest. Sometimes it remembers the one who suffered most quietly beneath it. If this story moved you, there are more like it on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.